My name is John Walter, Johnwalter, not John Waters. People always get me confused all the time. We've got John Waters coming in, and then I'm not the Pink Flamingos one, and they're like really disappointed. I need a two-person show with John Waters. Can we sort this out? Lounge Ligands is a tent with 3 clear walls and 1 white wall. So you look like you're coming to a weird wedding, and there's 12 quilts that will face outwards. So you'll see the backs of them, and they will be with my new prints, these interactome patterns that I've been making. When you come through the tent, a band will be playing, and so you'll be a bit like, oh, what's going on? I've come to an art science thing, what's all this about? And you'll be immersed in pattern. You know, this will be visually quite luxurious and maximal, let's say. At the far end, I will be at my new bar, which will have its own tabletop with a pattern printed on it, and me in costume, and new dungarees that I've had made. My aunt has sewn these for me. And I'll be serving quite stiff drinks, I think. You can have a non-alcoholic drink if you want, but you probably want a gin and tonic. And then what hopefully happens is that the discussion kicks off. So Lounge Ligands is been inspired by working with Brian Shoichet's lab, and it's talking about their ligand science, which is about very small molecules, little compounds that bind with certain or dock in certain places. But I thought it was important to think about also that Lounge Ligands is a container for all the things I've been making since I've been here. And I've been here nearly 3 months. And you and Gina and other people have seen the work in progress, but we thought it might be nice for other people to see the work in progress by coming to the studio via a little bit of film. And there's lots of things I've been making, and I made a note to myself of what I've made while I've been here. Now, I started off, I'm going to lean out of shot, sorry. I'm coming back in. This was the very first thing I made, which is the Shrinky Dinks. And there's 89 of these little chaps. They're all funny little mutants. They're baked in the oven and they shrink down. Some of them are just imaginary things. Some of them are viruses. This one's a little house virus. This one's some sort of mutant little particle. And they're building on the things I've been doing immediately before I got here, which was Sydney Ducks, which is an NFTs project. Now, what I've then begun to do to them is mutate them again in an AI package, in DALL-E and in Starry AI. And these are video elements that I'm editing together currently for a piece called Variants of Concern that will feature in Lounge Ligands. And it's made up of these 89 mutating images. And the AI responds to the input you give it, the image and the text, and then it spits out lots of variants. There's other video I've been making. I'm working to build a cell, really to talk much more about the ligand science with Ruth, talking about the messaging that goes through the cell. And this is built in AnimVR and Gravity Sketch, which are VR packages that you can draw sculpturally in and animate in quite quickly. Then there's various silk ligands that Brian and John Irwin gave me that I've been printing. There's dopamine and adrenaline and things like this, and these are going to get embroidered onto the quilts that I'm making. And these are the main feature. But I think one of the things that struck me in talking to people as I've gone on is, in the initial talk that I gave, I described some of these processes, but now we're seeing them play out in reality, which is that all these things are made from parts. There's 12 of these quilts, there's 12 velvet end papers, there's scans of the doodles that I make in my notebook that are then transformed materially. Then there's 12 interactome patterns. So this is one of the interactome patterns. Behind that, you probably can't see, it's out of shot, is one of the pox patterns. So there's monkeypox, magpie pox, albatross pox, moose pox, terror pox, raccoon pox, this goes on. This was inspired by Adrian's lab meeting. So things are coming in from lots of different places and beginning to find homes. And I think it's really important to remember that this isn't just about illustrating the science. I mean, in the case of Ruth's cell, it is about doing that. It is about science communication, very straightforwardly. But then it's about other ways of meeting minds. And the scientific experiments that are going on, which have constants and variables, they're serial, there's a lot of equivalence in the way I work. The processes of making and testing are different, but the scrutiny, the investigation, the research is absolutely identical. I'm not discovering nature, I'm making culture. It is a form of, I'm something else to be examined. They're sort of at the flip of each other, but the rigor is very, very similar. So there's a bar that I've been building, and then there's other ligands which you saw me when I was at Parnassus sewing, which are finally beginning to find their home on here and actually begin to become camouflage, which is strange. And then, oh yeah, there's other bits of video content that will find a home in the next week or so. And that includes these gravity sketch models, which will feature in a video. And I don't normally work to the last minute like this, but it's great to have a home for everything. And so this tent that we're erecting in the atrium that will house me in costume with the bar serving gin, surrounded by these sculptures and the band, the whole thing something is going to happen. I mean, each layer of adding these parts together, something new emerges beyond the parts. And I think that when you then build those little chunks into bigger chunks, it's all this thing that the science is talking about, which is about scaling and how at a different scale the thing takes on a different purpose or a different meaning. You know, I'm going to lean out of shot again. But this is where it all really starts, is in the drawings, in the notebooks. Fibroblast, vaccinia, chemical crosslink, the notch hedgehog. You know, so things that I'm grabbing in lab meetings get glued onto images, and they become mental building blocks for things that become quite surreal. And so it will seem mad to people at first, but slowly it will seem quite normal. And it would dislodge them to think differently about what they're doing. So it's not just for an audience, it's also for an internal dialogue. There's lots of layers that it will hit, I hope. And so I thought it might be nice just to show that a bit today.